Okay, hi guys. We started working on the comparative last time. So we're going to review the comparative and we're going to start talking about the superlative. And of course, both of those things are forms of your adjectives or adverbs, and we have them in English as well. So just as a mini review, we have the regular, just the same way we've always used them, adjectives and adverbs. So things like dunkel, alt, lang, viel, klug. Of course, we add endings to those whenever we have them in accusative case or nominative case and they are preceding something. The comparative case, however, was whenever we show that something is faster, darker, smaller. So when you're making that comparison, you're adding that ER in English. Now in German, we had the same concept. So you had, as an example, these little cars. Schnell, schneller. So there's your ER ending. And then the superlative we're going to go over in a second. What I want you guys to do, you have this very same handout in front of you right now. And we already went over most of the ones down here at the bottom. I want you to go through and fill in all of the different forms. So what does alt become whenever you go into the comparative? What does lang become? They do have little stars next to them for a reason. If you read that, that was of course because a single syllable adjective, so those really short adjectives, that has a vowel in it is going to get an umlaut. And then you are going to stumble across hoch, which is the one that's cut off on your screen. And that one, of course, was a little bit irregular beyond just umlauts. So go in and fill those out really quick. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple just to make sure that you're getting the hang of it. So for alt, it has a little star because it's a single syllable adjective, just so that you know what it means. Of course, this one is old, this one is dark. So you've got alt, old. And then you want to say older, one syllable. So you're going to take alt, add an ER, and then you're adding umlauts over the A. Then you've got lang, which means long. You want to say longer. You say lang, add an ER, add your umlauts. Okay, viel. I hope you didn't write viele. This means much, and it's going to be completely irregular. So you're going to have more, mehr. I'm actually going to make this a lot so that it's easier to tell. A lot, mehr, which is more. We're going to get to the rest. Okay, you're going to be on your own for the rest of these. Make sure you finish them before you go on. Okay, so we know how to form the comparative by itself. Now in English, we like to say things like more and more. More and more students bring smartphones to school, for example. Or better and better. Movies nowadays are getting better and better. Now in German, we don't do this combo, so we wouldn't say more, of course, meaning mehr. We wouldn't say mehr und mehr. Instead of doing it that way, in German we like to use the little word immer, which of course directly translated means always. Okay, so our always is the word that we use in order to make that same point. So if I wanted to say more and more students are bringing cell phones to school, I would say immer mehr, so there's one more. Schüler bringen Handys zur Schule. Okay, so immer mehr Schüler bringen Handys zur Schule. So you've got the comparative form once, and you're preceding it with immer. Okay, if I wanted to say, let's just make it easy, school is getting better and better. In German, I would say, die Schule wird, becomes or gets, better and better. I'm going to use better once, so besser, and I'm going to add immer in front of it to say better and better, so immer besser. Okay, and it doesn't matter what type of a word we're using to do that, so pigs fly more and more, or mice get more and more intelligent. It doesn't mean that you only do it with the word viel or mehr, but you do it anytime you say more and more. Okay, I want you to come up with one sentence on your own. So in your composition book, write one sentence. Using this immer. Okay? I'm going to come around and check that. Make sure the date is next to it as well so that I know that it is from this lesson. Okay, moving on. So we've got how to make our comparatives. We know how to say more and more and better. But what is really important to remember is that we have these fun little things called adjective endings. So I'm going to review really quick when we use those to begin with. So if I had a normal sentence like the sky is blue, der Himmel ist blau. Okay, I have my little adjective. In this case it's my color and it's blau. There is no ending on the end, right? There were no adjective endings. And that's because it is at the end of your sentence, or it's not preceding the noun. So the noun that it's modifying is at the very beginning. We're using to be, which makes this a predicate adjective. You don't need to know that word, you just need to know that it's not in front of the noun that it's actually modifying. So we don't have adjective endings with that. The same was then true when you're doing this for the comparative form. So if I said the sky is more blue, der Himmel ist blauer. Okay, so this is your comparative form. We added the ER in order to make it comparative, but there are no additional adjective endings. Okay, so the only ending is your comparative form. Of course, this is comparing it to something. So if I said der Himmel ist blauer, the sky is more blue, I'm implying then something. To do that, we use the little magical word als. So als, how about das Gras? So it is bluer than the grass. So that's my continuation of that sentence. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be at the end of the sentence, it's just that it's not in front of the thing that it is modifying. I'm going to give you another example. Der Junge ist größer als das Mädchen. Der Junge ist größer als das Mädchen. So we've got our comparative form, in this case ER and umlauts. We have our als, and of course it is referring back to der Junge, so it is not preceding the noun that it's modifying. So again, this would be a predicate adjective. You're not going to add additional adjective endings. Okay, I'm going to use the same example to show you when we would add adjective endings and then how those are constructed. So if I say the bigger boy or the taller boy, yeah, and then just something spielt Fußball. So the bigger boy, the taller boy, plays soccer. Okay, so that's masculine. We have it preceded by a der word, which of course then uses our primary ending. I still have my comparative form. That's where my comparative form is. And I added my secondary ending for the adjective. So in this case, because it is in front of the noun that it's modifying, it needs that extra ending. So I have der größere Junge spielt Fußball. Notice when you're doing this, you also no longer have the comparative, or the comparative als, right? So you're not comparing it to something anymore. You're just using the comparative when referring back to something. So in this case I said the boy is taller than the girl. In this case I'm saying the taller boy plays soccer. So I'm not telling you what he is taller than. I'm just saying that he is the taller one. Okay, quick note right here. If you're still not comfortable with adjective endings to begin with, there is a video on the case chart by itself, which you can watch. And that just goes through and introduces the case chart. It's actually a two-part video. Okay, really quick, this is just a clarification from the book. It's the same thing that I just showed you guys in my notes, but make sure you look at these two examples really closely. So we've got, wer hat das größere Zimmer, Laura oder Maria? Who has the larger room, Laura or Maria? So it's the comparative form, and then the additional E adjective endings because it is talking about the Zimmer which follows it. Now the second example does the same thing. We've got Laura hat ein kleines Zimmer. She has a small room, right? So just an adjective ending. Und möchte ein größeres. So we've got größer, that's your comparative form, but you have this extra es ending. You're omitting the noun here. So the noun is not restated, but it is still considered to be present. So it is not a predicate adjective. It's not that conclusion. It is actually referring to das Zimmer. It just got dropped. I know that's a little bit confusing, but just translate it into English. You have Laura has a small room, but wants a bigger one or room, right? So that's not there, but in English you can hear that that's what belongs there. All right, in order to practice this, I want you guys to flip to page 151 in your spiral and complete exercise 5-9. It is called Vergleiche or comparisons. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is that page, making comparisons. Of course, it's telling you where to flip back to in the front of that chapter in case you need some additional help. You can also use your notes that you just took during the video. What you're going to do each time is you have an introductory sentence. Der Porsche kostet 60.000 Euro und der Ford kostet nur 22.000 Euro. So the Porsche costs 60,000 euro and the Ford costs only, very important word, 22,000 euros. So then based on that information, you're going to come up with an adjective that fits. So you need to be able to be a little bit creative with this and come up with adjectives. If you cannot come up with one on your own, use your resources for this one. In this case, they of course used the word teuer. Right? Teuer was your initial word. And it says, der Porsche ist teurer als der Ford. So for this one, we're using the als because we're restating that comparison, right? Both of the things that we're comparing are named. So we're using als, and we don't have adjective endings. The only thing we have is that comparative ending. The second part each time is, der Porsche ist der teurere Wagen. In this case, you have the ending that makes it comparative, and then you have an adjective ending. This is nominative case. Masculine ending. Primary ending was used right here. So that's your secondary ending. Okay, so you're getting a lot of practice. You're differentiating between the two different forms of comparative, which one to use, and you're using your adjective endings. Your genders are going to be given each time. See, you have das, primary ending is used, comparative form, and then use your secondary ending. If you have questions, come and get me. This is due at the end of class. Also, going back to this handout really quick, this is a little sheet that shows you how to use those different forms with adjective endings and without. Hold on to this sheet. You're going to need it whenever we go over superlative.